pigeons in the kitchen and mice at the front door, there are tons of intense moments featured in Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay. Before the chef with the foul mouth even ascended to meme status though, he was bravely walking into restaurants in serious despair. The best episodes though weren't the ones where Ramsay knew what he was doing. These surprises were what really got audiences watching, and it's time to go back over the best of those shockers. The list of kitchen casualties over the course of the show is long. Sometimes people just can't get the cogs in place to make a serviceable restaurant, and there's no more magnificent example of this than CASA Roma. Some of the early mistakes are totally understandable. Spelling errors and the lack of a clean dining area, they're not the worst sins an owner can commit on this show. However, things are only going to get lower from there, so much lower. It's really amazing that these people can be this inept. Honestly, how did they make it this long? For starters, they can't even cook a pizza right. Even a slacking college student can bake a pizza so that it's not raw. It's not that hard, people. However, the real kicker comes in the fridge examination. Ramsay digs through the walk-in fridge and goes full-on food detective. What he finds causes this reaction. We feel you, Mr. Ramsay. We really do. And it doesn't stop there. He then takes a blue UV light into the bathroom and, well, we're not surprised by his shock here. Seriously, they didn't even dust their blinds. They weren't going to keep their bathrooms clean. Now, this one is retro Gordon Ramsay. It was only the second episode of the American version of Kitchen Nightmares when fans were introduced to DILLON'S. Boy, this place, well, it was all over the place. Creepy crawlies and rats were the least of Ramsay's problems in this episode. He isn't shocked by the unclean kitchen, but he is appalled by the inept management. Counted three people were managing this one restaurant. It was the inverse of too many cooks in the kitchen. Their mix of personalities led to a confusing workplace. The menu was an eclectic mix of American Irish and Indian cuisine. Half the kitchen staff stood around confused without direction. The whole experience showed how a lack of central leadership can derail a business. The worst offender in the whole show was Martin, the manager who simply looked at his phone the entire night. Martin actually sued Gordon Ramsay and tried to prevent the episode from airing. Once he left the picture, things actually started to work for the place. The change of name and management helped give them a fresh new start. Still, nothing beats watching Ramsay trying to navigate their original menu and his attempt to grasp the need for three managers when none of them were helping out. It was supposed to be a low-key episode. The walk-in was actually clean, the cake Ramsay had was delicious, and things seemed presentable. Everything seemed smooth until it wasn't. Every fan of the show knows this episode, but come on, we can't not talk about it, can we? The first sign that things were off should have been the fact that Amy, the co-owner, claimed that she could speak cat. I mean, sure, we all think that we can talk to our animals, but not everyone's Dr. Dolittle. This alone is enough to warrant an entry on this countdown, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. It turns out that Samy and Amy together combined into some kind of tyrannical monster of restaurant ownership. Neither of them can take criticism. They shout at all the customers and parade a group of dissatisfied customers out the door daily. The whole mess was perfect for reality television, but even Ramsay couldn't believe his eyes. The big kicker was the fact that Amy and Samy agreed that the servers didn't deserve the tips that they received. Okay, honestly, that's just straight up evil. All of this made Gordon give up on Amy's baking company. He literally refused to continue the episode. Once again, we're back to three people managing a restaurant. By now, the dynamic wasn't as shocking to Gordon. What is surprising is the family connection and how much the work is straining their relationship. Gordon Ramsay is a chef, not a therapist. Don't these people realize that? The real horror in this episode is the kitchen inspection. The food he's served is over a week old. Quote, fresh food. It's here that the audience is delivered this beauty. It looks like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers handled this piece of meat last. Perhaps even more surprising than that is the fact that Gordon Ramsay is able to save the place for a little bit. Fiesta Sunrise managed to get its act together thanks to our star chef. Their backlog of unpaid taxes, however, ended up being their downfall. You can't serve green chicken to customers and week-old rice while working in debt. Even Gordon Ramsay, the miracle worker, can't save you from that fact of life. Kitchen Nightmares usually follows a simple formula. Gordon Ramsay shows up, orders food off the menu, and ends up upset. The manager steps in, and conflict ensues. That's how it usually goes. But with the Secret Garden, things took a bit of a turn that shocked Gordon Ramsay. First, the head chef, Michael Bar-David, is also the owner of this establishment. All of the criticism lands on him the entire episode. So when Ramsay finds maggots on the stored food and runs to the porcelain palace for refuge, it all lands back on Michael's lap. His response is absolutely shocking. Instead of being embarrassed or apologize, he simply states that no kitchen is perfect. Are you serious? I mean, sure, yeah, no kitchen is perfect to be sure, but maggots on the meat? That's pretty far from perfection. Eventually, the head chef does play along and lets Ramsay change up the menu for the better. However, it takes a drastic change of scenery to make that happen. Ramsay literally boards up the restaurant to show Michael his future. The Secret Garden is saved for the moment. Michael then goes back to his old ways quickly after that though. Only this time we hope he skipped out on the nasty meat surprise. You know things are bad when the show takes 2 parts to get through all of your drama. On top of that, the whole Saffron family comes off looking terrible in this episode. Gordon Ramsay is the least angry person in this episode. How is that even possible? That should never be the case. There's no gross shocker in this episode. No moldy bread or rotten vegetables. The only thing shocking Gordon Ramsay this time is the amount of dysfunction present in this establishment. The show can't run for 2 minutes without some kind of drama starting between characters. Perhaps the biggest of these moments is the fight between the chef and the family. David Blaine, what? No, not that guy, claims the Saffron family isn't paying him for his time in the kitchen. It's a wild mess of poor communication. The parents even used their son's inheritance to start the venture. Poor Danny is just a sad mess. From the silly hat on his head to the chaos he was forced into, it all feels like a situation Gordon Ramsay should consider himself lucky to escape from unscathed. First off, the Chappie took a crappy line, it's iconic. That's a fact. Second off, this is just one odd episode that keeps getting stranger and stranger. It's what we should all expect from a chef with a cartoonishly large hat. I mean, seriously, man, take it down a notch. Ramsay walks into this place and is immediately greeted with an insanely extensive menu. There are over 100 items for him to choose from. No one needs that many options. Things only get worse from there, and Chappie shows no signs of wanting to change. He blames the Nashville crowd for not understanding real authentic Cajun cuisine. Yeah, Chappie, that's not it, man. The yellow mayonnaise is probably the bigger culprit here. There's moldy food and raw meat not correctly stored that sends alarm bells ringing through Ramsay's head. The whole fiasco is barely covering the complete disaster that is this restaurant. Next we meet Star, Chappie's wife, and watch this weird relationship play out where the two basically fill their heads with lies. No wonder this place failed to stay open. The minute Gordon Ramsay walked into this place, the ownership refused to listen to him. He even refused to lose the hat. There's a constant internet debate about the validity of pineapple on pizza. And no, we're not here to give our 2 cents about the debate. Honestly, the comment section would get a little too wild over that. Instead, here's a reminder of the oddest pizza that Ramsay ever had to eat on the show. The sushi pizza. Oh yeah, you heard that correctly. This place actually tried to serve him a dish called sushi pizza. Now, to be fair, SUSHI-KO is undoubtedly not the only sushi bar to offer this, cuisine, but it's definitely the only place to serve one to Gordon Ramsay. The results were not surprising. The sushi is rancid and the taste is terrible. He tells the staff that the dish is an insult to both pizza and sushi. Man, that is a real low point for any place. What's even more shocking is Ramsay isn't even the biggest bully in the episode. The owner's wife, Lisa, is even more critical but seems to offer no solutions. It's one of the first times in the show's long run that Ramsay actually helps build back up the confidence of the person in charge. By the final part of the episode, Akira looked like a totally different person. Finally, a British episode of the series. It's about time we hop across the pond and visit one of the oddest episodes from the original UK version. Gordon Ramsay introduced us to a chef owner named Brian. He was an overstressed working bee that didn't know how to loosen the reins on the business ship. His gravy was so gross that not even Nibbler from Futurama would eat it. Ramsay attempts to find out what's making the kitchen so dysfunctional. He heads back there and finds two answers. Brian is slowing down the cooks, and the whole space is too crowded with useless things. Suddenly, this episode of Kitchen Nightmares turns into a hoarder special, which brings us to the real kicker. Outside, Ramsay dumping the old gravy into the streets. The best part by far is Brian's plates. The dude loves him some plates. There's an entire scene dedicated to getting him to sell his plate collection on eBay. It's the significant conflict of this episode. See, times were much simpler back then. The only thing that shocked Gordon Ramsay was a man's pure love for beautiful porcelain discs. This restaurant is the only one still open under the original owners in this entire list, which is absolutely amazing considering the mess that it was in when Ramsay first got there. Yep, everyone's thinking it, so we're just going to get it out of the way now. This is, in fact, the pigeon episode. There's rotten lobsters galore in this episode and a genuinely shocking look at spoiled chicken. In fact, Ramsay is astonished when he discovers that they served some of that spoiled chicken while he was overseeing the kitchen. It just goes to show you that not even Gordon Ramsay can stop every ounce of stupidity from happening. The real kicker is between the two brothers in charge. Now, there's been a bunch of fighting in Kitchen Nightmares, but things are usually just verbal altercations. Instead, this episode shows Michael, the more troublesome brother, actually assault one of the chefs. No one was expecting a physical fight this episode, not even Ramsay. It turns out the biggest problem was Michael. He was the reason for all of the poor spoiled lobsters sitting around the place. Once he left, the establishment actually began to perform and remains a notable survivor to this day. We're pretty sure that this video made us all lose our appetites, so while you're considering never going to a restaurant again, consider commenting below and telling us what you think. Did we get the rankings right, or did we miss the real catastrophe? There's always more Kitchen Nightmare content where this came from, so be sure to like and subscribe to The Binger to stay up to date on all of our latest videos. Thanks for watching.